Hello, welcome to this video about Obsidian and Neovim. I'll try to make this as short as possible, as the last couple of videos I made were I recorded actually, I didn't upload anything, were about half an hour long, but that's because I talk really slowly and I don't have a script. What I will go through is my Obsidian plugins, my Neovim plugins, and a little about my workflow. I just want to start this with No, you know what? I'm just going to show you what I use first to get it out of the way, and then I'll explain the specifics later. We go to Community Plugins, Data View. I use it for OneNote. You don't need it if you don't want to. It's in Neovim. It's a convenience plugin that opens up Neovim buffer for the currently open note in Obsidian. Xcali Draw. If you want drawings, sure. Quick Add. Not really much to say. It's a pretty convenient plugin for creating standardized notes. You can add a template, format how you want them to be made, make a default directory, stuff. Reading View JK Scroll, that's my plugin. It literally does what it says it does. Absolutely, you don't need it if you don't want to. Yankee, I'm skipping over this on purpose. Yankee is a plugin that exports single markdown notes to Anki. Yanks cards to Anki. So it's pretty nice for me as I generate a lot of notes, a lot of flashcards, sorry. If you need a way to generate a lot of flashcards, I recommend Yankee and Neovim, as you can quickly make new notes with a plugin, Obsidian and Neovim, from Neovim. You can make them pretty quickly then. For reference, I have all of the notes that start with these random letters I made yesterday in about an hour. And every note has an equation. They're pretty short, but you get my point. If you did this manually in Obsidian, in Anki, sorry, it would take much longer. If I open the community plugins again, the task notes is an actual plugin you need I need it for my workflow. I base a lot of my workflow on it. It's basically a better version of Task plugin. Imagine Task plugin, but you have all of these different views and convenience, like Pomodoro from Kanban, sorry, for example. This I filter by a project, and then I can physically draw things to the status it's in, and it's sorted by a due date. So I just, okay, today's review day, I put it here. But I have this in progress, and when I'm done, I put it in there. You get it. If you ever saw a Kanban board, it's like that. Doesn't have a lot of options here, but sometimes it's simplicity that makes it special. If I had 20 options, I would go through every of those options, and I wouldn't be studying. So that's that plugin. That's the Obsidian overview. If we open Neovim, I go to plugins. I don't even think I have the updated version on GitHub, but don't copy this. It's very unique to me, and I made a whole structure myself. It's not based on anything. No, plugin is Obsidian and Neovim. You can go through all the options. For Neo, fortunately, you have to go through the options for it to work as you want. For example, Blink. I needed to enable Blink. No, actually, you see they're both disabled. That's because I load it manually in Blink, which gives me more options. I'm going to show you how I did it. The note ID function is the only important here I use here. It's what makes new notes automatic. If it has it makes a random 4 letters always in the middle, timestamp in the beginning for organization. And if I give it the title, it forms the title. Otherwise, it makes another 4 random letters. So I always have unique notes. Even if I can make like 100 notes with the same name at the same minute, you know, with a macro or something in Neovim, and it will work. That's what was why did I close it? So another important plugin, snippets. If you write math, snippets are a must. This is the snippets I use. It's called LaTeX LoSnip or LoSnip LaTeX on GitHub. It has like 24 stars. It's not really popular and it works in tech. You need this function, which I made with three-seater with a Markdown parser for it to work properly in math. Otherwise, it won't work. It has 3,000 lines and it's all snippets. Use this one. This is the best one. It even has a pretty good documentation, although it's a bit outdated. So what you should use is if you open a note, you go to LoSnip, list available, and search here. Lastly, the Blink CMP. This is how I load them. This is the classic Blink CMP. I use Blink because it's new and I wanted to experiment. It's pretty good actually. You set the providers like this. They're free Obsidian providers. References, new, and tags. You can set the max items. If you don't set the max items, I believe there is some kind of leak in there. It made my computer slower not the whole computer, but Neovim slower over time. So I had to set max items to 10. Otherwise it wouldn't crash, but I had to restart it every 10 minutes for it to not lag like crazy. And you set them here. Nothing special. And that's basically it. Thank you for watching. I'm joking. If you want to see the specifics, you can stay. But that's basically everything I use. So now I'm going to. It's pretty hard to explain all of this without mentioning how I study or how I think stuff should be done. Take into consideration this is all my opinion and what works for me. You should absolutely not watch this video and just do whatever you want and experiment, but you probably don't have time for that. That's why you're watching this video, or you need explanations and ideas and reference points, which there is not a lot on YouTube or the internet, for example. I had to discover everything myself as the information is, in my opinion, horrible. It makes me feel so unproductive and lost because all of those videos are just filled with shit like, oh, do this and you'll improve your performance by 2,500% or stuff like that. It's honestly horrible how people try to market and sell and make money on people that just are looking for reference points and ideas and are actually trying to improve their workflow and be more productive. The point of this video, I'm not experienced in making videos. I could probably edit this and make it much more brief, but I don't have time for that. But what I will give you is what works for me. I won't bullshit you on what you should do, what you should study. There is no perfect system. My system isn't perfect for me. There's certainly some plugin, some Neovim config, some command I'm missing, which will make me a 2% faster or some shit. What's important for you to realize is if you've somehow found this video, it's probably that you're in a, what's it called, a productivity rabbit hole. I was there myself. What I can tell you, it never stops. I swear to God, if you have a perfect setup of Obsidian and Neovim, you will try to find another program and configure that one. I got to the point where I had Obsidian and Neovim and everything was working, and then I installed Logseq to see if that's better. It never ends. Just if you really need it, if you really need something that works right now, which is good, and you have money, buy a MacBook and an iPad. That's it. That's the best way. This is all a replacement for that, honestly. Just go into the whole Apple ecosystem and you will be more productive than setting up Linux with Obsidian and Neovim on an old ThinkPad, you know? But if you don't have money, this is a pretty good way. I kind of skipped over the point here. What I want to say, set out some time, a week, 2 days, 3 days. Okay, in these 3 days, in this week, I am going to create my setup for working. You do it for 2 days, 3 days, whatever you set out to do. Then you experiment with it for 2 weeks and you don't edit anything, you just try it out. You will adapt to the system you've created in some way. I'm not trying to force you to do stuff, I'm trying to give you advice. Because the point with all of this is to work better, to be more productive and make work more enjoyable. And you're not doing that by constantly configuring your Obsidian and Neovim. An example of this, look at my community plugins. I have 7 plugins, out of which one is disabled. And I think that is too much, honestly. I should limit. I don't need editing Neovim, unnecessary. It's a convenience plugin. But I spent a couple of hours configuring it and looking at the source code and adding it and making it work perfectly. It's a couple of hours I could have spent working. Quick add, I made all of the templates and stuff to save maybe 30 seconds every time. I spent too much time on it. Reading View JK Scroll is the plugin I made. I spent days making it in TypeScript instead of actually just using page up and down keys. Yankee, I didn't actually configure much there. Task Notes is a crucial plugin, so I don't really count it. What I want to say, all of these relatively unnecessary plugins, you can spend days. I think I inspired myself to go through all of this again. I'm going to limit yourself to like 5 plugins. And you will actually make that limit. And the big plugins I would make even a lower limit. I only have one big plugin, which is Task Notes. I swear to God, I could go now to plugins and spend the whole day looking for plugins that will improve my performance and optimize my working environment instead of actually studying. You know, the best way to learn something is to warm the chair, as we say. Yeah. And don't even get me started on Neovim, Jesus. Do you know how much time I had a Kickstarter configuration before Kickstarter.nvim, and it worked. And then I decided to make everything from scratch myself. I switched distros, I switched Neovim versions, I used Nixvim, I Everything, and nothing was perfect. Nothing was perfect. But the breaking point was over the summer. I'm the second year of university. I failed almost all subjects last year, and I had this system where I constantly use Neovim to constantly configuring my Obsidian and Neovim, and wasn't actually spending time writing in it, just configured it and went for the rabbit hole. And I had a whole summer to study for exams, which would, if I passed all of them, it would make my life much easier now. And I failed all of them. I had 2.5 months available for work, and I spent all of them for configuring shit and not actually studying. So that's what I want to say. You can't spend 2 months doing this. It will never stop. Stop yourself. Give yourself a week. Give yourself a week, 2 weeks. Just set a limit. That's what's important. I'm not trying to be judgmental here. But this is something no one told me, and I would have loved to hear it. But the feeling you get when you have something you think is a perfect system, which makes you learn faster or stuff, and then you see how hard it fails, you feel, how would you describe that emotion? You feel lost, and you feel angry and disappointed, and you know, for me there was a breaking point where I opened my test result page, and for a test I thought I would pass certainly, and I failed by a lot, and that was like, I can't do this shit anymore. The issue with procrastinating is real, but there is no other way other than stopping it yourself. Just stop. Stop. If you got to the point where you're watching this video for ideas, sure, watch the first part of the video, try out the plugins, but what I want you to know, set a limit, keep to that limit, then try it out for 2 weeks. You'll try it out for 2 weeks, and you'll actually see some improvement if you try it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. Write down in Obsidian what you didn't like with each plugin, and then set out one day to change stuff, or 2 days, whatever. Change stuff, make it more optimal, make some scripts, save some macros, whatever, may download a new plugin, remove an old plugin. Just try it out again then later for 2 weeks, and I swear to God, you will come to a point where it's good enough. If you just try it for 2 weeks. What you need to do, I don't know how to express myself in a way that doesn't sound aggressive, in a way that I don't want to force you to do anything, and I don't think I'm better than you because I started studying or anything. But what I want to say, you you're probably not a person that likes to procrastinate. No one likes being a procrastinator. You need to spend the point with those 2 weeks where you study and test out. You prove to yourself that you're a person that's studying, not a person that's configuring Obsidian and procrastinating, and that's important. You cannot say to yourself, "Oh, I'm a person who studies," and the next day you wake up and you start studying 8 hours a day. That's not how it works. The next day, your brain will call bullshit on that lying to yourself, "Oh, I'm studying." You're not bipolar. You cannot do that shit. You have to force yourself for a week and tell you and make compromises with yourself. if you, and never be hard on yourself. That's also one point. If you study and you feel like, oh shit, I need to configure this, take a break and have that's something I do. Have a meeting in your brain and try to analyze that primitive feeling that doesn't want you to work and ask it, what do you want? And it will answer something, oh, this feels hard, I don't like it. I I feel stupid or something. It's never good, if they stop you from studying. And then you sit down at this table and it's like a child. Okay, if I give you this candy, will you be quiet for a moment? And you come to a compromise. So, um, for example, I have a day where I feel like I'm going to die during math. I cannot focus, and then I relax, and I'm like, what do you want? Fuck. Did I stop recording? No. The answer is often, oh, I don't want to study. Okay, you want to listen to music while I study, that's a compromise. Or you want to take a break for half an hour, we can organize our notes for half an hour, make cool things, look at a graph and move stuff around. So don't be hard on yourself, you have to make compromises. This video turned quickly from an Obsidian guide to a way to a general life guide, which is something I think is important in the end. Obsidian is just, and Neovim are just means to an end. You won't get better at anything using Obsidian and Neovim except Obsidian and Neovim, of course. Just spend time studying and do what works. And if you're coming to a point where you clicked a video on Neovim and Obsidian, you probably spent enough time on this already. So just start, tell yourself, I'm this, I'm a person that studies. Then do it for a week. And after a week or more, I don't know, 2 weeks, it doesn't take very long. Your brain won't call bullshit on that, you know? If you actually set a goal like, okay, I will open a book and do one task every day. Your brain has some kind of evidence. Okay, maybe we are a person that studies. And ask yourself always, if you're a student, for example, what would a good student do? Which sounds kind of cringe, but would a good student at 8 in the morning come to university before 7 and make videos on progress and configuring Neovim and how he and how he changed his attitude? No, I'm talking about myself. I'm not perfect either. But this is a compromise I made. I need this little compromise. My brain needs this little compromise to be able to study later. Yeah, well, that's all I wanted to say. I hope I didn't sound annoying, and I'm sorry for the microphone quality. It's my There was a Linux update and the microphone broke, so I'm using my headphone, my earbud microphone. Nevertheless, if you liked this video, please, uh, please. If you like this video, I'm grateful. I don't really care about likes, but it would be nice to see someone liked it. So yeah, have a nice day.